Deborah Gaytan. Deborah Gaytan. Deborah Gaytan. Deborah Gaytan taught social studies and grammar. I had her as my 7th grade teacher, so she taught 2 classes. And her son was my friend. We were in the same class. I've mentioned him before. Joseph. Jesse was older, the oldest. Millie was in my brother's class, and then I forgot the youngest girl's grade, but she was in my other brother's class. So 3 of her 4 kids, we each had a class with. And Mrs. Gaytan, again, she wasn't my teacher at first. I just knew her as my friend's mother. But I quickly realized just how evil this woman was. So Joseph, me and him went our separate ways. We went our separate ways at some point, and in the 7th grade, right before my parents pulled me out, so like I've mentioned in other videos, 5 kids in my class, all boys, were either pulled out, expelled, or again, no longer at the school before I told my parents, I'm not going there anymore. I'm not learning anything. I'm not going to get into high school. I'm not going to get into a good college and get into vet school, which is what I want to do with my life, because this school is more concerned with discipline and coming down hard. And they're not concerned with things like teaching, and academics. They're more concerned with all this other bullshit. Joseph, he let out that his mother, Mrs. Gaytan, was collecting a list of accusations against me to turn into the principal. I immediately told my father. He went and confronted Mrs. Gaytan. She denied it, and then she comes to me and in front of the class says, "Your father came in here and accused me, all angry." And I was like, bitch, what does that have to do with me? If it's not true, then why are you having your stupid little brat son running rumors? By the way, I ran into Joseph. He lived, maybe still does live in San Francisco. I ran into him into the Tenderloin. That's actually how I found out that Millie got pregnant and ran away. There was an article that she was quoted in Half Moon Bay where they lived, and she, in her own words, said that her mother threw her out when she got pregnant, aka right here, Deborah Gaytan. And anyway, so that's the first thing I want to say about Mrs. Gaytan. Her oldest son, Jesse, he would also exclusively refer to me as a fag and a faggot. And when I told her, she said, "Oh, I'll talk to him," right? Because when I did things, MDR, detention, referral, but when he did things, when other people did things, it wasn't as problematic. So I'll never forget another time. So one time I was in the secretary's office, and this stupid bitch, Deborah Gaytan, is in there. And they're talking about a student who was no longer there. And I just remember asking, I was like, "Oh yeah, I wonder why did that person leave?" You know what this stupid bitch said? She turned to me and chewed me out. She said, "If that was any of your business, you would have been notified. If that was any of your business, it would have been put on the speakers and blared." She ripped me a new one for simply asking what happened to this student. But hey, stupid bitch, Mrs. Gaytan. Oh no, let me finish. I do have to add one more thing. So Mrs. Gaytan's husband, he was another piece of work. So I remember we went to a school play once, and I wanted to sit next to Joseph. He was my friend, and it was actually the same play that both of our younger siblings were in. So it was his little sister and my little brother. And Joseph was like sitting at the end of the aisle, and I come up and I was like, "Oh, hi." I was like, "Excuse me, can I sit next to Joseph?" And this guy, he's sitting there like this, doesn't move, and he's like, "Go ahead." And so I'm like, kind of like, "Are you kidding me?" And then I like look at him and he doesn't move. And so I like squeeze past him. Like, again, just all these people are such trash, such garbage. And it's you have to live with your miserable life. I got out of this situation, and I'm setting the record straight so that this bullshit doesn't happen to anybody else. But you trash and you scum, you soft, you have to live with yourselves. And you have to live with the way that you treat other people, because nobody that's happy and nobody that is content with their life has to take it out. And mind you, these people in their 40s, 50s, has to take it out on a kid, literally less than 15 years old. So anyway, you guys sure did well. You guys sure did well as parents. But two of you dumb bitches. I wouldn't be surprised if you're not even together anymore, Mr. and Mrs. Gaytan. But yeah, good going. Good job with those kids of yours.